We are started Hudson Township board meeting, emergency board meeting, called to order at 5. Waiting a minute
Almost
here.
5:30.
Yeah, I wanted to show 30 before I officially start.
None of us care about that minute. We can start whenever you're ready.
No, I can't
He's
start.
trying to be politically correct.
Yeah. I got a bond, doesn't mean I want to use it. Yeah. This is gonna be fun to edit out this. Make sure it's running, I guess.
There we go. We're good.
All right. Emergency Hudson Township board meeting called to order at 4:30. We'll start with the pledge. All would rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I bought them. I'm going to be using them at the parking section. So we got the pledge out of the way. Fire territory. We did do the full update last meeting. I don't know if it's necessary to recap everything. Thought it was a good meeting. Is there anything that anyone wants to add? I mean, I did upload the video with everything we had said. Nothing. Cool. Then we'll just check out the last video if you're interested. Financial report. I did cover it in detail, I feel like last time, but I do need the board's approval for the financial statement. It's just the bank statement.
The same thing from last time.
It is. It's what's meaningful to say. We started with $41,537.10. We ended with $43,640.86. 2 checks went out. One was for Excel tax service for 2024s and 2041s and W-2s, and then I overpaid Indiana Michigan Power for $35.75. That was January, and a credit towards this month. I did end up sending a check for $1 and some. I just want to motion to accept, or any questions, or would you like to review it?
Remember, motion to accept it.
Second.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to minutes. This is the January meeting minutes. Hudson Board meeting minutes for 2/13/2025. Called to order at 4:30 p.m. CT with board members Wilson and Tuska in attendance. Did the pledge, fire territory update, financial report given. End of 2014 financial report given by Brian Gray. Tuska motion to approve. Wilson seconded the financial report. New business. Wilson motioned acceptance of minutes for January's meeting. Tuska seconded. Old business motion to address budget adjustment made by Wilson. Tuska seconded. Motion to accept budget adjustment made by Wilson. Tuska seconded. Discussion of slab still leaning on fence. Both Wilson and Austin had spoken to Doug Miles to get it moved. We're told Miles is awaiting new equipment to arrive. Wilson reported that David Daisy approached him asking for porta johns to be placed at the park by March 17th to be utilized by baseball team and members of community. Wilson suggested Hudson Township's trustees Facebook account should promote fire department's program to install fire alarms. Brian Gray discussed the Healthcare Foundation meeting he attended, promotion of CPR courses, AED grants, and asked for a trustee to fill out grant. The bidding was cut off at 5 p.m. CST, at which point the single bid received was opened and accepted by the board and trustee. Motion by Wilson to accept Lance Corley's bid of $30,000. Tuska seconded. Public comment. Lance Corley passed his public comment. Tuska motion to adjourn. Wilson seconded. Any corrections, issues, perhaps a motion?
The slab is off the fence.
It is, yes.
I've seen that too.
I do need a motion, or I can make adjustments if there's anything wrong.
No
Adjustments.
Motion?
motion.
Motion accepted.
All right. Okay, a few action items before we get to the purpose of the emergency meeting here. This is the estimate. Brian had gotten together for 100 feet of fence that David Daisy was interested in doing to keep people safe while they're viewing baseball games. The estimated price is $828.60. That's today's pricing, and this is a little bit old, so it may go up. But I was hoping to get a motion to approve purchase of 100 foot of fence from Menards at approximately $828.60.
Where does this get installed?
this is going to be installed on the south side of the baseball field. It's going to continue on that fence on the south side there.
It's the baseline fence.
Yeah.
It's just getting extended out.
Right field.
As far as installation goes, we no need to do that. I believe I'm going to have excess labor on April 13th that can help Brian install it. Brian said that he'll be there to oversee that before he heads into work. So I was hoping to get a motion. If that's acceptable, if not, we don't have to do that. It is your guys' call.
Motion, I have no problem with it. I think it's a good idea.
All right.
That fence isn't that long and those foul balls can get out where actually kids are playing on the swings and that, so.
Absolutely. There's another.
So the fence is a basic 4-foot fence?
This is the estimate. It is a. Can you read this? I don't know how to read these things, but that's all the details of it that was just approved. I was going to seek a motion
6 foot.
to feed the volunteers on April 13th. Not to exceed a certain amount. I think it's going to be much less than this, but I thought I would ask. And then if I don't want any volunteers to go home hungry or anybody from the community who doesn't even volunteer and just wants to come out and socialize, I was going to ask for a motion to approve up to, you guys can change this, but I was saying $300 to feed volunteers and community on April 13th. And again, it's you guys' call if you guys want to do that or not, or change the amount, or not do it at all.
300 is the max,
Up to,
up to
not to
300.
exceed.
I'm okay with that. We have roughly 30,
Well, and we'll get to that, but yes, we're gonna have more than that. In
okay.
Possibly, again, up to you guys, but yeah, we have the resources for that. You're good with that motion?
I'm good with that.
Okay, that's a, is that for the cleanup, is that what you're making up?
Yes.
It's separate.
And is that at 10 o'clock?
It's 10 o'clock, volunteers.
Oh, my time. 9 o'clock
Eastern.
your time?
Well, I run on Eastern as well, but
Okay.
yes, you're right. Yeah, it's
Okay.
9 Central.
Alright.
And then noon or 1 if we're in Eastern like us. Civilized people. No, I'm joking. Then there'll be a community event and we'll be feeding the volunteers and anybody from the community who comes out. So I do appreciate that. One last item for this day is I have written down here a motion to approve spending up to, not to exceed, could cost less, but I thought just would cover it, $400 to erect a flagpole at cemetery. Again, this is something that it should be less than that on the estimate David given me. But we have excess, again, we're gonna have excess labor that day. I do anticipate I could give you a crew of guys, put it up. So I was hoping, if you guys are good with that,
Is there a light there that shines on it?
there will be at the top.
We'll put a solar light on it.
Okay.
And they work fantastic. I have the same kit at my house. It's an American made flagpole kit.
Okay,
And then I put a solar light on it and that's been working beautifully now for
good.
4 to 5
Because
years.
technically, if you don't have a light on it, you're supposed to put it up
Take
and
it down.
down. Yeah.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. But yeah, mine, I won't say mine's a 17 foot, we're gonna get the 21 foot.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a little bit taller, but like I said, I love mine.
Good.
It withstood 70-mile-an-hour winds last week,
Oh.
so I thought about taking it down, I'm like, nah, let's see if this thing's as good as what I think it is. It stood the 70-mile-an-hour wind,
Good.
so, yeah, yeah.
Mine didn't.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
It snapped right at the base.
dang,
I do require a motion.
yeah,
Are you okay with
Motion,
that?
I'll say, yeah, I'm good with that.
we've been talking about doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
It just needs to get done.
Mhm.
Now, the purpose of our emergency meeting is, I have here, however you guys want to do it, but I had written down a motion prior to allocate $30,000 from sale of township property to blank fund. Of course, that can also be split up if you would like, but it was requested that we have this meeting ASAP by, I can never keep it straight if it's DLGF or SBOA, but I had spoken to the relevant party and he had said to me best to get it done as soon as possible. So required with this was also a rationale was asked. It's not going to be as simple as making a motion. I'm going to be asked to provide the rationale of the board members who voted. So if you say we want to do this, just give me a quick explanation why you want to do this. And I'll go in here for the minutes.
So I guess this building was donated by a woman to the township for the money to be kept in the township. So I want the money to go to where it's gonna stay in the township
Mm.
and not be put in the budget where at the end of the year, it could be taken by an entity, whether it's the state or the county or whatever. The lady donated the building, so it would be used for the township, and that's where the money needs to go. It needs to stay in the township. So wherever in the budget that may be,
Mm.
where it's not gonna be taken or a chance of being taken at the end of the year, that's where it needs to go, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know where it sits until it's used, or if it can be used, or if it's a rainy day kind of thing. But do we need a list of things that are good ideas? We put out suggestions? Not too extravagant, but what can we do to make things better on the lake? One thing is definitely electricity to the park.
Yes.
That's
To the
priority.
shed and to the overhang.
That was the intention, and that was our intention with, if it ends up in the rainy day fund, it will be utilized for that. Speaking about the park, and energizing it, I had opened up a new account with AEP. I'm expecting a call today or tomorrow about the first steps on what we need to do to get that account up and running, and then put in the energy and the.
Well,
And
there
then
would be an
get the well
engineer that
work
would
done.
come out, you know, and tell
Yes.
you this is what you gotta do to
Right,
put
so
a box in that shed.
I had started that process, but this is what, I mean, I know we've spoken about possibly using these funds to do that, and that would be through rainy days, my understanding.
Well, another thing, you know, I mean, I'm a hardcore fisherman.
Mm.
Everybody knows that. That building was a conservation club. In my mind, you know what, it'd be nice to buy some fish and put in the lake from some small part
Mm.
of that fund that came from the conservation club.
I believe that can also.
Harry would approve of that.
Yes, he would, I know he would.
I think that's a great
You
idea.
know, some hybrid bluegills, or
Yeah.
I don't know if the DNR has to do another study before you put fish in here. You know, I've talked to the DNR officers out here because they always told me we can't stock Hudson Lake because there's not a public access. Well, 2 years ago, I got stopped by an officer down here for some crazy reason, and I said, hey, now that we have a public landing,
Mm.
can the DNR stock the lake? This guy had a nerve to say, we always stock Hudson Lake all the time. Yeah, well, I'm glad he didn't decide to give me a ticket, cause I kinda got a little red on him, you know, I don't know who the hell you think you're talking to, but, you know, possibly they stocked it in the '60s, possibly that's where the pike came from. Aside from that, Delbert Hogard raised money through the Conservation Club and stocked it one time, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Maybe when they drained it, or they pulled the plug, they drained it and all the fish went out.
Hmm.
So I guess my concern on doing that, which is a good idea, but it's a township money.
Yeah.
And the lake really isn't
Under our purview.
under our purview.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but there are probably, I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't around the lake that are Hudson Township.
Right.
I agree.
But they could
I
still
mean-
fish,
I mean-
hypothetically.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, like Pat's
Mhm.
not right on the lake. There's
know.
people up on 1,000 North
Yep.
and that kind of thing, so.
I think before we would do that, we would need to check if we could, and then we would wanna talk to DNR. So there's some conversations in that process,
Yes.
and we're not making a motion to do that right now.
I understand. So-
Question. What about the DNR, I'm not DNR, poor relief fund? Can you put some money in the poor relief in case we need it for later on? Cause you don't know what's happening.
Is that part of rainy day, or is that a fund?
That is,
I don't know.
there's a
Yeah.
township fund, in my
Township
understanding.
fund.
Yeah, township fund, and then isn't the poor relief or assistance is a separate fund?
It's in one of your.
It is still township fund?
Mhm.
Okay. And then the rainy day is a separate one
Yes.
though? Okay.
The whole reason that I brought up the fish thing is because we acquired this $30,000 from the Conservation Club,
I understand,
you
and
know.
I'm just,
There's some conversation.
I mean, I'm right on the lake as well,
Yeah.
but, to me, it's gotta be researched before you go doing that, and I think some more
Oh, I
public,
agree.
public input goes in on that, because it's not, it's kind of for the township,
Yeah.
not.
But we could put a little bit all over.
Well, I understand.
Alright.
I'm just voicing an opinion.
I totally get you. We wouldn't be doing that without, I mean, I wrote down here a note to talk to the DNR if they would be even okay with such a thing. And then we would have to check with legal and see, can we do that? I don't know. You had a comment?
I was, no, go ahead.
So I'm Georgette Joyce and I'm part of the Conservation
Pleasure.
Association. So just so you know, we are reaching out to, so what I'm gonna speak to isn't this money, but it may help your situation. So we're reaching out to businesses and, some big businesses with deeper pockets who have raised their head and said, we want to be part of the community and be, they, know and understand the lake and so forth and so on. So one of the things, that I had called, Austin, and just shared that if you guys had a wish list for the township and or the community, I'm happy to share that with them because, we could plant all the seeds at one time and then all the community can benefit because, the Conservation Association and they possibly would jump on, doing, adding fish to the lake as long as the DNR approved and so forth.
Right.
So I think that, my 2 cents is, do what you can to keep it in a fund for the township. And then we could try to do this through the businesses because we just tapped on one and we haven't gotten any ink on paper, so this is still, but they were very enthusiastic and we have a bunch of others that we're going to be approaching. So it was just amazing how positive they were when we went to them. So just keep that in mind, that
I would love to hear what could come of that and updates of that. Would it be possible?
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
Might come and report that to us?
It's just a lucky day I was able to make it to your meeting because usually I'm babysitting today.
Gotcha.
So I just happen to be off for other meetings that we're doing. So so those are the type of thing. And one other thing, but it would be very lake related, is USGS has a way more sophisticated way of measuring the level of the lake that could really help us. It would be more refined than what we have with the tow hog. But we're not looking for your money,
Right.
but we may be looking for that, which would be a great asset to us because that helps us manage the legal level of the lake. And the association has just taken on the management of the drain as of next week.
Oh,
So we have agreement with the DNR, we have insurance and all that stuff, and hopefully we'll be able, because we're here, we can open and close it right away, and the drainage board, they have a million things to do, they open and walk away.
Right.
And then they'd come back when they had time, and we're on it, and we're gonna make sure that that doesn't happen, so,
Wonderful.
but yeah, I hope we stay engaged to
Absolutely.
share as soon as I can get ink on paper, we'll figure out what we can do, And it doesn't mean that we have to be the go-between too, maybe it's something that you can work directly with the companies as we find them too, or however works best for everybody.
Be happy to be a part of those conversations
Yeah.
if I'm allowed. Back to the topic of the emergency meeting. I hear both of your rationales. I'm going to ask for that after the motion is made. My understanding is you can split it between different funds. So you have the township fund, you have the rainy day fund, and the money does need to be allocated.
Can you put it in a savings account until?
But it's still gonna be in a fund.
I was told it had to be in a
It's
fund.
still gotta be in a fund, and then you could put it into
Yeah.
another CD or whatever, but it's gotta go into a fund. He's gotta deposit the check physically into
Yeah.
the fund.
And we have enough money in the bank account currently, and the rest is in a CD or whatever what is it?
CD, I think you said.
Yeah, certificate of deposit. Yeah. So if we got those resources and we wanted to do that, we could simply add it to another CD. But
So the township fund is money that stays with you guys?
Yes.
my understanding.
It doesn't go back in the budget, like you were saying, you don't wanna lose it.
Yeah, I don't. To my understanding, whatever's in those funds still stays within our account, and it doesn't get pulled away from
Okay.
us. It'll stay in our account, but they can change how much can be in each fund between different budget years. Is my understanding.
So at the end of the year, if there's excess funds, it can be pushed into rainy day fund.
Mm.
And that's just for
And that fund stays with you as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse my ignorance, I'm
No,
trying
no,
to
no,
catch
You
up.
are good. You are good.
That's okay.
At this point, I make a motion that it all goes to rainy day fund.
Okay.
Oh, I second that.
Okay.
But I do have, cause I've heard this from a number of people over the years. We'd like to put make Hudson Lake a nicer place,
Mm.
you know, and if, there's always people walking around, and a lot of the main thoroughways like Walker, Emery, Chicago Trail, even Lakeshore Drive, there's a lot of really dark areas. You got kids walking, people walking their dogs, I mean, you're on top of them, and it's like, holy cow, there's somebody there.
Mm.
Lakeshore Drive, you know, it'd be nice if they could, like the north side, scrape that off and maybe gravel it, make some kind of a walking way there, cause there's no lights, it's dark as hell. And
But that's one of the nice things too,
that is dark,
that it's dark.
I would- I
You
would-
start putting too many lights in, then you lose the skylight.
You can cone them though. I mean, it's
Oh,
all in
okay,
engineering.
okay, yes.
I get your
Yeah.
point, if you do it ignorantly, and you could get rid of
Start
it.
putting billboards up
Right.
and,
But
Oh,
if
we
you
don't need that,
engineer
but-
it with that in mind, you can have light directed
Yeah,
down.
coming
and-
down Chicago Trail, there's, from county line all the way to the stop sign, there's no lights except for the one there at the basketball court, you know?
Yeah.
It's dark through there. Over
would be
there,
interesting.
there's a lot of places around, the main thoroughways around the lake that have no streetlights, you know, and it'd be nice to brighten it up a little bit.
That,
wouldn't that be county?
Yes.
I'm not sure, you know, I'm just,
so the purpose of our meeting is really addressed, some old business though. The slabs were moved as you had mentioned, he had gotten
Yes,
his new
yes.
equipment, I believe, done that. I don't know if the Porta Johns got there, I know we made the call,
Yeah, I see.
you saw them, okay,
Yeah,
I had a
yeah.
look, so they're there. I promoted it on Facebook as you had asked. I filled out yeah, is there anything else that, old business, new business?
In regards to the park, I mean, I've had a dozen people already ask me, you know, they said that pavilion's great, but we could sure use some picnic tables in there. So, we need to move on that stuff. It's gonna be park season soon, and I won't mention names, but had a local that already told me he would be willing to donate a couple of, picnic tables to go in there. He said, I just don't wanna buy cheap stuff, so,
Does he want us to source them and
yeah.
present them to him?
He's a very hands-on guy, but he's busy right now, and he's
Right.
got more money than time, and he said the least I can do is at least donate a couple picnic tables, so.
Okay, so something for the board and people from the public, if you're interested, to start looking for quality picnic tables. That's what our mission is from this individual.
preferably metal.
Yep, he just wants good quality ones, and he said, I'll donate a couple of them, so.
Interesting.
So are you guys interested in doing things like walkathon, you know, or, you know, 5Ks or things, you know, when you think about community engaging it? Cause we put out on our website stuff that we were hoping to get to, but we're like buried with other projects, so we haven't been able to get to it, but, you know, we did some brainstorming about maybe have a taste of, you know,
Hudson Lake?
Hudson Lake and, you know, close the thing, but, you know, it takes somebody to get permits and things like that and
I'm
get
not
it all.
opposed.
So
I
we're
mean, I
full of ideas, but not necessarily bodies that can come and take care of it.
They did add Hudson Lake Tavern onto the beer and wine walk this past year.
Okay,
I don't know if you knew that, but
I
yeah,
didn't.
Hudson Lake Tavern got added on, so when they did their, you know, fall beer and wine walk, people were,
Shuffling out here.
well, I think they were mostly golf carting out here.
Oh, nice.
And then heading back, but.
I'm not opposed to helping with things like that. I mean, I'm not in particular interested in 5Ks myself, but as far as organizing or I guess permitting,
yeah, and so,
I don't know.
again, when you were talking about trying to, get
Yes.
the community up, go to our website, it's, HLC, Hudson Lake Conservation, HLCAindiana.com. And if you go to fundraising or events, it's, you know, we just have them listed, because again, it's looking for, you know, people to to do it and stuff like that. We have a lot of ideas for projects, but not necessarily, all the bodies, cause we're
I mean,
busy with the dredging and, you know, doing the invasive and now
Mhm.
getting this business and
Sure.
light level and all that stuff.
we've talked about market days in the park, you know, like craft days and market
Oh,
days in
yeah.
the park, so if you wanna get on board with that, and,
Yeah, I don't know what
that's kind of our
groundwork
ultimate
are.
goal. We've talked about a community garden in the park, there's plenty of space for that, just neat things. you
I don't know if we do have the space with how popular the baseball team is, because they park out there. But we'll find space
Yeah,
if we're ever dead. If we're
yeah, I don't know if
dead.
you've been
There's
by there
space.
now when they play baseball, it is insane how
Yeah.
many people are
Yeah,
there,
it's
insane.
back.
Oh,
Mhm.
Glad to hear
insane.
that.
And there's talk about possibly adding a second team
Yep,
when they re-up their contracts, so that'd be great. Any other new business, old business, before we move to public comment fully?
good.
All right, fully public comment. Yes,
I'm on your list.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Two things. We talked a little bit at the last meeting about why the percentage of the rainy day fund was decreased by SBOA or whatever. And I looked that up and I forwarded it to Brian. Apparently there is a limit of 7% of some number, which is off the top of my head is.
Maybe the total
escaping
budget of
me.
the township, something
Yeah,
like that.
so that's why it got reduced, that's why it's not 15,000 anymore, because before we had the fire and all that in there, so our
Mhm.
total budget was higher, so that's why that got lowered. And then, I know I sent to you a
Yes.
little bit of help
Thank
in
you for that.
mowing bid.
Yes, okay, something else, if I may take it back to, old business, or new business for a second, we will need mowing for this year, so we have received a, quote,
Quote.
was that for the year?
Yes, it's
Okay.
from, I think the date was from April to the end of October or
Yeah.
beginning of October.
Pretty much the season.
It covered, trash pickup, all the fencing,
Yeah.
trimming.
Which was seemed like an incredibly reasonable price, I can't remember off the
The
top.
guy does excellent work. I mean,
Yes.
he's been working for me for a couple of years and I know some other people that he does work for. They're
Hmm.
very timely, they're very thorough. A couple times I've gone out in my yard and said, hey, can you do this?
No
No
problem.
big deal. So.
I have that, and thank you for reminding me very seriously. I will, excuse me. I will bring that to present to the board. If anybody wants to go look for other bids, have more competition, that's perfectly fine. It seemed like an incredibly reasonable price.
And that's for
It's
both,
for the
this,
whole, the
Yeah.
cemetery
And
and
the-
for the park
okay.
and the
Yeah.
baseball field and everything, so
Yeah,
I think he would be really happy if he does in fact get it. I told him about coming tonight, but they're working late, trying to
right.
keep the rain to, tomorrow.
I mean, obviously, we should probably nail that down next meeting, and maybe I should have had it done. But I wanted to give you guys also a heads up that if we're going to look for any other bids, we got a couple week window here before we really should.
all I'd ask is compare it to the bid that we've gotten,
Yeah.
from last year, the company out on 20,
Okay.
and just,
Well, they might have an updated one, so maybe I'll reach out to them.
it's gonna be similar.
Okay.
Just saying, it's gonna be similar, I would just compare it to something like that, if it's,
Are you
Out
required
of
to
curiosity,
consider
what was the
someone
price?
So sorry.
What was the price?
It was like
Last-
just under 2.
What?
Okay. But I can't remember off the top of my head, so I shouldn't speak. But
For the-
I remember looking at it and
for the
thinking it was
year.
very reasonable. I'm sorry.
No,
What
my
was
question
no, I
was,
don't
do you
remember
have to
which-
get competing bids? That's just.
I don't
a
think
question.
we have to. I just think it shows that we're doing some due
Right.
diligence rather than taking the first one,
Yeah,
which
and
again
he's-
was incredibly
He's,
reasonable.
he lives in.
No, I'm not,
Yeah, no, he
only
lives in
because
Hudson.
like with
Listen.
us and the DNR, we have to
Yeah,
solicit
exactly.
multiple bids. When I'm at the drainage board, they have to get multiple
Right.
bids. So I just don't want to
Just
get in
curious.
trouble, so I was just
No.
mentioning that.
Absolutely.
we had last year, and, the one was,
He was,
so,
it was re- he was
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
it was like $2,000 a month or something,
Oh,
wasn't it?
gosh.
It was really high, I think.
3,500.
He's got a pretty big business,
Yeah, I know.
you gotta, keep the doors open,
Okay.
you just can't do a township park, but.
I will vouch for the guy, I won't be at the meeting.
What's the name of the company?
Crazy A's, Alan Beeler. He also does snow plowing and landscaping, whatever.
Anyways, I mean, bring that,
These
that
supplies,
offer, or
there's
that,
gas
that
and
bid,
everything.
if you wanna, could you recontact me, just make sure that that's, whatever that bid will be, and then we can compare them, in April. And I'll maybe reach out to somebody else, if you have anybody that you could, or businesses, we could just bring whatever options, I wanted to have a meeting and discuss it, and then next one, we should probably nail it down, cause it's that season.
Well, the grass is already turning green.
Yeah.
I know, they were all fertilized
Snow
this
yet.
week.
Yeah, but man, it's turning green at the farm.
Further public comment?
That was all I had.
Thank you so much for those. Looking for a motion, Dawson?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you all for coming. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.